I found my son in a metal shed behind his own house, chained like an animal on Christmas Eve. His voice was so weak I barely recognized it. And if I had believed the cruel message sent from his phone, he wouldn't be alive today. If you've ever wished you could deliver justice to someone who hurt the people you love, hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in, because this is one of the most painful and most satisfying stories I've ever told. My name is Jorge Navarro, but everyone calls me Joe. I'm a 67-year-old widower who lives alone on a small piece of land near Prescott Valley, Arizona. Cows, dust, wind. That's my life. And honestly, I was happy that way. Because every December, the only thing that warmed my heart was the promise my son made. Dad, Christmas will be at my house from now on. Your family, you always have a place with us. My son, Daniel, is a good man. He grew up helping me rebuild fences and fix tractors. He cried the day I burned my hand in a brush fire. He worked 2 jobs to pay his way through college. And when he married Elena, I thought life had blessed him. They moved to the growing suburbs outside Mesa, bought a cozy house with tan stucco walls and desert plants out front. Daniel built a small woodworking shed in the back and told me, "This is where I'm teaching my future kids to build things. Same way you taught me." I held on to that promise. It kept me alive through the quiet winters. So on the night of December 22nd, I was packing little gifts to bring to them. A jar of my homemade prickly pear jam, a pair of warm gloves for Daniel, and a crocheted shawl for Elena. I'm not good with crafts, but I tried. The old ranch house was cold, but my heart was warm. The kind of warm a father feels when he knows he'll see his only child. And then my phone buzzed. When I picked it up, my world cracked open. The message said, "Old man, don't come here. I don't need you. Stay out of my life." Cold, cool, like someone dumping ice water down my spine. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. The words didn't make sense. Not from Daniel. Not him. He never called me old man like an insult. He always said it with a grin. "Come on, old man, let's get breakfast." But this message, it felt like a stranger had possessed him. No punctuation, no softness, just hate. I read it again. And again, my hands shook. I whispered into the empty kitchen. No, Mijo, that's not you." Something was wrong. I called him immediately. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Still voicemail. My heart started beating too fast. Heavy like boots stomping inside my chest. Not anger. Fear. Deep, old animal fear. I dialed Elena. The phone rang and finally clicked. "HLO? Joe," she said. Her voice was thin, shaky, like someone crying but trying to hide it. "Elena," I said quickly, "where's Daniel? Why did he send?" We're at the airport," she stuttered. "Emergency trip to Florida. Please don't come. Daniel's tired. He doesn't want to talk." Airport? The background was wrong. There were no airport announcements. No rolling luggage. Just muffled bass. Dark, heavy music. Music with bragging voices, violent lyrics, and thudding beats. Daniel hated that kind of music. I heard a man laughing behind her. Deep, loud. Not Daniel. Then a sharp voice snapped. "Hang up. Tell the old man to get lost." And she hung up, just like that. No goodbye. No explanation. I stood in the middle of my dusty ranch kitchen, holding the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. I felt something dark crawl up my spine. This wasn't normal. This wasn't travel stress. This wasn't Daniel suddenly rejecting me. This was danger. Real danger. The kind you smell before you see. People like to say fathers get weaker with age. Maybe our backs hurt more. Maybe our hands get stiff. Maybe our eyes aren't as sharp. But instinct? That only grows stronger. There's a whisper inside a father that warns him when something is wrong with his child. And that night, mine wasn't whispering. It was screaming. "Daniel is in trouble. Go. I didn't even finish packing. I grabbed my coat, my truck keys, and the old folding knife I've carried for 40 years. I locked the ranch door behind me. The desert wind sliced across my cheeks as I climbed into the pickup. I didn't know exactly what I was driving into, but I knew one thing. If I had moved now, I might lose my son forever. The highway from Prescott Valley to Mesa is long and lonely at night. Saguaros stand like silent men watching you pass. Coyotes howl in the distance. The desert feels endless, and every mile, the silence got heavier. My thoughts kept going back to Daniel when he was 7, rushing barefoot through the rain to find a calf that wandered off. He slipped in the mud and tore his knee open, but he refused to stop searching. Family doesn't leave family behind, Dad, he told me. So how could that boy, now grown into a hard-working man, send me a message telling me to stay out of his life? He wouldn't, unless someone forced him, unless someone was hurting him. The closer I got to Mesa, the colder I felt, not from the winter air, but from the thought that I might already be too late. I reached Daniel's neighborhood around 10 p.m. It was usually such a cheerful area. Kids laughing outside, holiday lights in every yard, inflatable snowmen even though we live in Arizona. But when I pulled up to Daniel and Elena's house, my stomach twisted. Their street glowed with Christmas decorations, except their home. It sat in darkness. No lights, no wreath, no music, no movement. But worse than the dark house were the 3 large trucks parked out front. Black, tinted windows, raised suspension, covered in red desert dust. Not Daniel's truck, not Elena's car. Strangers, unfamiliar, threatening. My breath trembled as I stepped out of my old pickup. I approached the gate slowly. That same dark music thumped from inside the house, heavy bass making the windows vibrate. Everything felt wrong. Wrong like rot. Wrong like danger. I moved closer to the window, keeping to the shadows. Through a small slit in the curtains, I saw Elena's parents on Daniel's couch, drinking from his whiskey bottle. Trash on the floor. Loud laughter. Mud on the carpet. A man I didn't recognize sitting with his boots on Daniel's coffee table. Muscular, tattooed, a thick chain around his neck. He used Daniel's kitchen knife to clean his nails. His voice boomed. This house is ours now. My blood froze. Who was this man? Why were they in Daniel's home without Daniel? Where was my son? I stepped out of the shadows and rang the doorbell. The music fell quiet. Shuffling. Whispering. The door cracked open. Elena stood there. She looked different. Her eyes were rimmed red. She was shaking. She wore a robe like she'd thrown it on in a hurry. Her makeup messy, like she'd been crying for hours. "J. Joe," she whispered. I looked into her eyes. Not a trace of warmth, only fear. "Elena," I said firmly. "Where's Daniel?" She shook her head. "You can't be here. Please leave. Daniel is sleeping." "Then why is there loud music? Whose trucks are those? Why is your family in the house?" She looked over her shoulder. A shadow moved behind her. The tattooed man stepped forward, his lips curling into a smile that wasn't a smile at all. "Who's this?" he asked. "My father-in-law," she whispered. The man, her brother, I would later learn, snorted. "The old rancher? Send him away." Then he leaned close to her ear on purpose, staring at me like I was trash. "Elena, tell him to leave, or I will." Elena squeezed the edge of the door. "Joe, please go home. Please." The way she said it, her voice cracking, told me everything. She wasn't asking me to leave for her sake. She was begging me to run for my life. "Elena," I said slowly, "tell me where Daniel is." Her eyes filled with tears. She closed the door, locked it. On the other side, I heard laughter, music, mocking. They thought an old man would simply walk away. They thought wrong. I stepped back, pretending to leave, walked past the next house, and hid behind a tall mesquite tree. I watched the windows. No one looked outside. I returned silently to Daniel's yard, keeping low near the bushes. I had raised countless calves and horses in the dark over the decades. Moving without noise was second nature. I slipped around the side of the house, past the gravel path, to the backyard. Daniel's backyard had once been tidy. He cared for his chili plants, his small lemon tree, his work shed. But that night, I found destruction. Plants trampled, fence boards cracked, footprints everywhere, tracks from heavy boots. And near the lemon tree, a smell, metallic, rotten, wrong. Fear crawled up my throat. The shed's door had been reinforced with a thick chain, a brand-new padlock. Daniel never locked this shed. Not once. I pressed my ear against the wood. At first, just silence. Then, clink, clink, metal moving, chains shifting. Then a groan, a human groan. My breath stopped. I whispered, "Daniel." Silence. Then, knock, knock, soft, weak, desperate, followed by a choked sob. "Dad? Dad, is that you?" My knees gave out. I pressed my forehead to the cold door. "I'm here, Mijo." I whispered, "I'm right here." Everything inside me, fear, anger, heartbreak, solidified into one thing, resolve. I was getting my son out of that shed. If someone tried to stop me, God help them. I looked around for anything to break the lock. In the moonlight, half buried near an old toolbox, I spotted a thick metal bar, a broken piece of a garden rake. Perfect. I jammed it into the wooden frame near the latch, where the wood was soft and dry. Held my breath, pushed with everything I had left in me. Crack! The wood split. The latch snapped free. I slipped inside. And that was the moment my life changed forever. The smell hit me first. Rot, stale sweat, blood, cold air. I turned on my phone flashlight, and the beam landed on my son, my Daniel, curled on the concrete floor, shivering, bruised, one eye swollen shut, wrists tied behind a wooden post, and his right ankle, wrapped in a thick metal chain, bolted to the floor. His leg, oh God! His leg was bent at a sickening angle, purple, swollen, crusted with dried blood. "Dad," he whispered, voice cracking. "Turn off the light, please. They'll come." I didn't turn it off. I dropped to my knees and pulled him into my arms. "K.T. Hiserani-ho? What did they do to you?" He shook in my hold. "Dad, you shouldn't be here. They'll kill you." "I'm not leaving you," I said, voice shaking. "Not now. Not ever." His breath trembled. "It was Elena's family," he whispered. "They found out I saw something. Something bad." I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. "What did you see, Daniel?" He swallowed. "Drugs, Dad. They were storing them in my garage. Elena knew. She didn't stop them." My heart cracked. And when I told him I would call the police, his voice broke. "Her father hit me with a pipe, and her brother, Marco, he broke my leg." I thought I had no tears left. I was wrong. They ran down my face silently. I pulled him closer, whispering, "You're safe now, Mijo. I'm here." But Daniel shook his head. No. "Dad, they're coming back tonight. They're going to inject me with something. They told me they're going to make me addicted, so no one will believe me." My heart turned to fire. "They won't touch you," I said. "Not while I'm breathing." But behind me, outside the shed, I heard footsteps. Heavy, slow, a voice humming. A man's voice, getting closer. Outside the shed, footsteps dragged across the gravel. Slow, heavy, a man humming off-key, to the gangster music still thumping inside the house. Daniel's whole body tensed. "That's him," he whispered. "Dad, hide, please." But I didn't hide, because the man humming outside the shed door was the same man who broke my son's leg. Marco, Elena's brother, a thick-necked, tattooed bully who thought cruelty made him powerful. Marco Alvarez. His shadow moved across the crack in the shed door. I pressed my back against the wall, gripping the metal bar in my right hand and the knife in my left. Daniel trembled violently. "Dad, he has a gun." I whispered back. "Then let him come." The latch rattled. The padlock dangled uselessly on the outside now. Marco pushed the door open. He stepped in, carrying a gun in one hand and half a bottle of tequila in the other. He didn't bother with the light. He liked the dark. "Danny boy," he slurred, "ready for your Christmas medicine?" He stepped further inside, lifting the bottle to take another drink. That was my moment. I lunged out of the shadows. I didn't yell, didn't warn, didn't hesitate. I swung the iron bar with every ounce of strength left in my body. Crack! The bar smashed into his wrist. "The one holding the gun." He screamed. The gun flew across the floor. He spun toward me, shocked. "You!" he growled. I didn't let him finish. I swung again toward his knee. He dodged this time, stumbling backward, cursing. Then he lunged at me, fast for a drunk man, shoulder first. He slammed me into the wall. Pain exploded across my ribs. My vision filled with bright sparks. He grabbed my throat with both hands, squeezing hard. "You stupid old man," he snarled. "I'll end you." His fingers crushed my windpipe. I gasped, choking. Spots clouded my eyes, but my right hand still held the folding knife. "Jorge Joe Navarro." I flicked it open with my thumb. With a final surge of fading strength, I drove the blade into the soft part of his inner thigh, right where the artery runs. A hot burst of blood splashed across my hands. Marco screamed, a high, panic sound. He released my throat instantly. He staggered backward, grabbing at the wound as blood gushed between his fingers. I collapsed to one knee, coughing, pulling air back into my lungs. Daniel reached for the fallen gun with bound hands. "Dad," he cried. "Move." I rolled to the side. Marco spotted the gun in Daniel's hands and froze. His drunk arrogance drained from his face. He lifted his hands, trembling. "No, no." "Hey, Danny, look, wait." Daniel aimed the gun with shaking arms. "Don't you take another step," he shouted. I picked up the iron bar again and smashed it across Marco's skull. Thud. He dropped like a sack of cement. Unconscious. Bleeding. Beaten. The shed went quiet at last. Only my ragged breathing and Daniel's soft, painful sobs filled the air. "We need to go," I said. "Now." I searched Marco's pockets. Found keys. Not to the padlock on Daniel's ankle, but for one of the black trucks parked outside. Good enough. "Dad, the chain," Daniel said, voice trembling. "I'm getting you free." I slid over to the metal shackle that held the chain to the concrete bolt. It wasn't locked with a padlock. It was screwed on with a thick U-bolt. "Is there a wrench?" I asked. Daniel nodded weakly toward a dusty toolbox. I scrambled through it until I found a rusted wrench. My hand shook. The nut was stiff, rusted into place. Outside, I heard voices. Shouting. Someone yelled Marco's name. "Dad." Daniel whispered, "Hurry." I twisted the bolt with everything I had. My palms tore open. Warm blood mixed with cold sweat. But slowly, finally, the bolt cracked free. The chain loosened. Daniel gasped in relief. I helped him stand. He screamed when his broken leg shifted. "Lean on me," I said. "We're getting out of here." We stumbled out of the shed. The desert air slapped my face. The back porch light suddenly flicked on. Standing there was Elena's father, Frank, holding a shotgun. Frank Alvarez. Beside him, Elena covered her mouth and sobbed. "Stop right there." Frank roared. A blast tore into the dirt near my feet. I pulled Daniel toward the side yard. Another blast. Shrapnel sliced through the bushes. We dove behind the lemon tree. "Dad," Daniel gasped. "They'll kill us." "Not tonight." I said. Not Christmas. Not my son. We limped toward the front yard. I pressed the button on Marco's truck key. The middle truck blinked. I shoved Daniel into the passenger seat, hardly caring how, then climbed into the driver's seat. Frank aimed directly at the windshield. I stared him dead in the eyes. Turned the key. The engine roared like a beast. Hold on, Mijo. I slammed the gas. The truck lurched forward, the metal grill smashing straight to the front gate of their house. Crash! We flew into the street. I didn't stop, didn't breathe, didn't think. I drove deeper into the desert roads toward the outskirts of Oak Creek. Oak Creek. Daniel groaned beside me, fading in and out of consciousness. Dad, am I dying? He whispered weakly. No, I said firmly. You're coming home. You hear me? You're coming home. But the truth was, I wasn't sure. The closest medical facility was a small clinic on the edge of Oak Creek, a place I'd driven past dozens of times but never entered. Oak Creek Community Clinic. I barreled into the parking lot, nearly skidding into the front sign. I jumped out, ran around the truck, and lifted Daniel into my arms. His body felt so light, too light. A nurse inside screamed when she saw us. Dear God, what happened to him? He's my son, I shouted. He needs help now. They rushed him into a treatment room. A doctor in thick glasses examined him. But the moment he saw the chain still around Daniel's ankle, his expression changed. This wasn't a doctor's concern. It was suspicion. This isn't an accident, he said slowly. These are inflicted injuries. Who did this to him? His wife's family, I said. Their people, their house, their... The doctor raised a hand. Sir, I'm calling the police. No, I warned. Call federal agents, not local police. It doesn't work that way, he said coldly. Protocol is protocol. He stepped outside and made the call. 20 minutes later, sirens, not ambulances, police cruisers, lights flashing. For officers stormed inside, and they weren't here to protect us. Their leader was a thick man with a gray mustache and dead eyes. He scanned me up and down like I was dirt on his boots. You Jorge Navarro? He asked. Jorge, Joe Navarro. Yes, I said. My son needs. You're under arrest for kidnapping, assault, and vehicle theft. What? I shouted. My son is a victim. The commander leaned close, whispering in my ear. The Alvarezes called ahead. You mess with the wrong people, old man. My blood ran cold. They weren't just corrupt. They were owned. Cuff him, he ordered. 2 officers grabbed me, but I had been fighting since before those men were born. I grabbed a plastic chair and smashed it over one officer's head. He dropped. I bolted for the treatment room, threw myself inside, locked the door. They slammed into it behind me. Open up, Navarro. Last warning. Daniel was awake now, barely. His eyes widened when he saw me barricading the cabinet against the door. Dad, what's happening? The police here work for them, I said. We're trapped. The nurse cowered in the corner. Miss, I said urgently, give me your phone. She hesitated, terrified. Please, I whispered. My son's life depends on it. She handed it over with shaking fingers. I dialed the only number I knew could save us. David Torres, my former martial arts student, now a federal tactical commander in Phoenix. Phoenix David Torres. He answered on the second ring. Master? What's wrong? David, I gasped. We're at Oak Creek Clinic. The local police are compromised. They're trying to kill my son. Please, please send help. Silence. Then his voice hardened like steel. Hold them off. 30 minutes. My team is coming. 30 minutes. We didn't have 5. The police outside switched tactics. A crash of glass. A tear gas canister rolled across the floor. White smoke filled the room. Daniel coughed violently. The nurse covered her face. The doctor hid behind a tray. I grabbed the nurse's phone again. Turn on the camera, I told her. Record. Live stream. Now. She did. And I stood in front of the camera, eyes burning, throat on fire, but my voice steady. My name is Jorge Navarro. I said, this is my son, Daniel. He was tortured and chained by the Alvarez family. Now the Oak Creek police are helping them cover it up. If we die tonight, please share this video. Do not let them hide it. I held up the chain still on Daniel's ankle. The nurse entered the stream and hit post the moment the door split open. The police stormed in. I stood in front of Daniel with the iron bar in my hands. Don't touch my son. I roared. A baton smashed into my shoulder. A taser hit my ribs. I dropped to the floor, gasping. The last thing I saw was the nurse's phone screen lighting up. Upload successful. And then everything went dark. I woke to the sound of shouting, not the police shouting. A different kind, sharp, commanding, powerful. Federal agents, drop your weapons. Gun safeties clicked. Boots thundered through the hallway. Voices barked orders. I blinked through the gas and pain. And through the haze, I saw them. Federal tactical units in black uniforms storming the clinic. Red laser dots aimed at the corrupt officers. And leading them, David. He pushed through the chaos, rushing to my side. Master, he yelled. You're safe now. He helped me sit up. Get my son. I coughed. Please. His team surrounded Daniel, giving him clean oxygen, stabilizing his leg, securing the room. The corrupt officers were cuffed. The Alvarez family was next, and for the first time that night, I let myself breathe. My son was alive. We were finally protected. I sat in the clinic hallway with an oxygen mask on, my ribs bandaged, my vision still blurred. But I was awake and alive when the radio on a federal agent's shoulder crackled. Team Bravo in position. Team Alpha approaching the residence. All suspects armed and hostile. They were at the Alvarez home. David knelt beside me, adjusting his vest. Joe, he said quietly, I need you to stay here. I shook my head. No, I need to see it. Master, he chained my son. I whispered. My eyes will witness him losing everything. David studied me for a second and finally nodded. Stay behind the SHIELD team. Do not break formation. He signaled to one of his men. A tall agent handed me a ballistic vest and guided me toward an armored vehicle outside the clinic. The night air in Oak Creek was cold, almost painfully so. Oak Creek, cold desert nights always feel sharper when your heart is burning. They helped me inside the armored van, and within minutes, we were rolling toward Mesa. Mesa, as we approached the Alvarez property, I saw it. Black SUVs, flashing lights, federal spotlights turning the house white as a ghost. Agents moving in tight formation. This was no longer a family home. It was a battleground. The agents lined up in two columns, shields in front. I stayed behind them, clutching the vest tight around my bruised ribs. David raised his arm. Breach. Boom. The front door exploded inward. Screams. Shouting. Boots rushing in. I saw Frank Alvarez, the father, running from the kitchen with a shotgun. Frank Alvarez. A red laser pinned his chest. Drop it, an agent shouted. He fired instead. 3 federal rifles lit up. Frank spun backward and hit the tile floor, the shotgun skidding away. Elena's mother shrieked hysterically, covering her head. 2 officers grabbed her and forced her down. The tattooed cousin tried to jump the fence. A K-9 unit tackled him before he made it 5 steps. A woman screamed from the hallway. Elena, get out here. And then she emerged. Elena Alvarez Navarro. Elena Alvarez Navarro. My daughter-in-law. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her hands shook. She didn't run. She didn't fight. She just looked at me, not with hatred, not with anger, but with something worse. Guilt. Joe, she whispered, tears spilling. I didn't want this. You let it happen, I said softly. You chose him over your husband. She dropped to her knees. The agents cuffed her, reading her rights. I didn't feel mercy. I didn't feel triumph. I felt emptiness, because betrayal from family cuts deeper than any knife. 2 agents dragged Marco Alvarez out of the shed, alive but pale and stumbling, his leg wrapped in a bloody tourniquet. Marco Alvarez. He saw me from across the yard. His face twisted. You and your stupid son ruined everything, he shouted. I stepped forward slowly. No, I said, you ruined yourself. He lunged toward me, but the agent slammed him against the side of the truck. David walked up behind me and whispered, if he survives the surgery, the charges will bury him. Good. Let him rot where sunlight never reaches. Back at the Oak Creek Community Clinic, Daniel was already stabilized and prepped for transfer to a larger facility in Phoenix. Oak Creek Community Clinic. Phoenix. They loaded him into an ambulance. I rode in the front seat, silently praying with every breath. At St. Bridget's Medical Center, specialists worked through the night. St. Bridget's Medical Center. Surgery. Pins. Plates. Pain medication. It felt like days passed. But finally, at sunrise, a tired doctor approached me. Mr. Navarro, he said softly, your son is stable. He'll walk again with therapy. He was fortunate you got him out when you did. I nodded, tears finally filling my eyes. Can I see him? He smiled gently. Yes. Daniel lay in a hospital bed, pale but alive, breathing, resting. I sat beside him and held his hand. His eyes fluttered open. Dad, he whispered. I'm here, Mijo. Tears slid down his cheeks. I'm sorry. I didn't protect myself. I didn't see what Elena was doing. I didn't. I placed my hand on his cheek. No, I said softly. You fought. You survived. You didn't give up. That's what matters. He swallowed. Dad, would you have come if I hadn't tried to warn you? I squeezed his hand tighter. Daniel, there is nothing in this world that could keep me from you. He started crying hard, painful sobs that shook his whole body. I leaned forward and hugged him carefully, letting him cry into my shoulder. For the first time in years, I felt like the father he relied on again, and he felt like the boy who trusted me with his whole heart. Sometimes love breaks, but sometimes it repairs stronger. 2 months later, I sat in the Maricopa County Superior Court. Maricopa County Superior Court. Daniel was beside me in a wheelchair, his leg in a brace. The Alvarez family stood before the judge, wearing suits like that could hide their cruelty. The prosecutor listed the charges: kidnapping, false imprisonment, assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated battery, illegal possession of narcotics, conspiracy, evidence tampering, obstruction, attempted homicide, a mountain of crimes. The judge looked at them with cold disgust. You committed unforgivable acts, she said. You abused, tortured, and attempted to destroy a man who posed no threat. And you corrupted the peace of this community. This court will show no leniency. Marco received 45 years. Frank received 38 years. Elena received 22 years for complicity and knowledge. Her eyes met Daniel's one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. Daniel didn't answer. He simply turned away, and that silence hurt her more than any sentence. We rolled Daniel out of the courthouse. The Arizona sun was warm on our faces. Not scorching, warming, healing. Daniel took a shaky breath. It's over, he whispered. Yes, I said softly. It's over. He turned to look at me. Dad, how did you know? How did you know I needed you? I smiled, feeling tears burn my eyes again. Por qué un padre siempre sabe, mijo? I said. A father always knows. He held my hand. Thank you, he whispered, for saving my life. I shook my head. No, son, you fought. I only helped. But inside, in a quiet place no one sees, I felt something powerful. I felt whole again. Life teaches strange lessons. Sometimes the ones who smile at your table are the same ones who hide knives behind their backs. Sometimes the people you trust become the people who betray you. And sometimes a father's instinct is stronger than any lie, any danger, any barrier. Justice does not always come quickly, but it comes. Pain does not always disappear, but it heals. And love, the real kind, is unbreakable. That Christmas taught me a truth I will carry to my grave. When you protect the people you love, you never lose. Never. Not even in the darkest nights. If the story moved you, if it gave you chills, if you've ever wished justice could be served as cleanly, smash that like button. Comment the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen. And of course, subscribe for more emotional, powerful stories just like this one. Because family, love, and justice, that's what we're here for.